July 1998, the Mansion Incident. The discovering of a facility in Arkway Mountains that was experimenting on human subjects with a deadly virus. The RPD's STARS unit was sent to investigate after the murders of the area caused panic amongst the city's citizens. First Bravo team went in, but when their contact was lost, Alpha was forced to follow. 13 brave men and women entered the dark forest to find answers. 7 returned. The rest of the day felt unholy monsters they discovered while roaming in the abandoned facility, disguised as a manor of the House of Rich, noble family. It was learned that one of Umbrella's founders, Oswald E. Spencer, was responsible for the construction of the laboratory where the virus leaked. But the evidence of this was destroyed when the mansion's self-destruct system activated, purging the entire structure, causing a severe forest fire. Despite various files, footage of the equipment of the surviving STARS members brought back to the RPD, Police Chief Brian Irons refused to believe their accusations of Umbrella's involvement. The disaster was swept under the rug, and the loss of the STARS was ignored. The remaining members were given extended leave, according to the RPD spokesperson. In reality, most of them had quit, deciding amongst themselves to find a way to reveal the truth. Chris Redfield and Barry Burton made plans to infiltrate Umbrella's headquarters in Europe after Burton had relocated his family for safety. Jill Valentine, Brad Vickers, and mysterious benefactor Sheila decided to remain in Raccoon to try to warn citizens to evacuate before the inevitable occurred. As for Wesker and Alana, the two left the city in the dead of night after Alana said goodbye to her mother and father, promising to try and come back to them as for one day once Umbrella was dead and gone, no matter what it took. But Irons had other ideas. Valentine was sanctioned and put her under house arrest for gross misconduct. Vickers fortunately kept his mouth shut and remained on the RPD. Shyla mysteriously vanished into the city, her existence only known by Valentine and Vickers. To the other remaining surviving members, Richard Akeen, Rebecca Chambers, Enrico Marni, decided it was best that they split up and go into hiding. They knew Umbrella would be looking for silence witnesses, but Rebecca was one of the sailor soldiers. Instead went underground performing her duties in research secret. A couple of months had went by, and as they feared, the inevitable finally occurred. Citizens began to get sick. Reports of the water supply being tainted began to grow surface. Jill knew better. The rats had spread the virus through the city's sewer system, and it was only a matter of time before the body count began to grow beyond acceptable levels. She knew she couldn't stay in her apartment any longer. It was time to get out of Raccoon. It was time for her last escape. Jill jerked away in her mattress, covers tossed off the bed, and yet another bout of her nightmares. Nights had filled her mind with zombies, mysterious monstrous spiders, and hulking man-shaped abominations that whittled their way to sanity, which she desperately clung to at times. Evidence of this could be seen in a multitude of sleeping aids that she had scattered across the bedsheets, sides, tables. Too many pills, they didn't help. Nothing would. Sweat clung to her forehead and the subtitle shin, making her veins clang against her skin. Sometimes she wished that she had gone with Chris. He had been her rock ever since they escaped the mansion, and now she was alone there with Mauricio, aka Sailor Neptune, as her only companion. Speaking of which, Neptune, can you hear me? She called out towards the mirror. Near the side of a reflection of her spirit companion would appear, looking concerned. The stress is getting to you, Jillian? You cannot let this break you. The townsfolk will need you at your best. If any of them hope to survive, is what to come. I know, but this is driving me crazy. Irons knows. We know the truth of what happened and he's trying to stop us. But I can't let him, Jill says, holding her head in hands. This is why he did this. He's a fucking rat. We shouldn't have listened to Lady Rhea. She sighed, flopped back on her bed. I'm sorry. I know this was a lot to unload at once. Besides you, I've been lonely. Chris and Barry have already gone to Europe. Wesker's gone with my daughter for safety. Rebecca's underground. As for others, they're forbidden from contacting me. Yes, Irons has been spending an awful lot of time trying to suppress what stars might know. Even the public is about to take notice, but I do foresee him stopping anytime soon. He is panicked, and he will do whatever it takes to maintain the status quo, even if he has to lie out of his fat ass. And even news reports are not helping either. Fires, crashes, injuries, and death. It is building to crescendo, Jillian. I believe this is the time for you to leave this place. Raccoon is lost. Jill winced and looked away. Raccoon had always been her home, but now to think of it as a loss, she wanted to argue that there was no way it could be lost that soon. And yet, the more she thought about what Mirtro said, the more she saw that she was right. She had a hand ran through her hair, fighting back the tears that threatened to fall. She was right. It was time to go. Maybe she should. Jill's apartment phone began to ring, averting her for a moment. You should answer that. Nodding, she rose up from her bed and walked over, picking up a receiver to holding it to her ear. Hello? Jill, it's Brad. You need to get out of there right now. The whole city has gone berserk. I know. I'm seeing it on the news right now. It's chaos out there, Jill replied. She turned to the TV that was still on. The latest report on the madness had fallen. Where are you? You don't get it. Look, I can't explain it right now. I'm calling from the phone box and it's too dangerous for a waste of time elaborating. You need to get out of there right now. She didn't need to be told twice. Alright, I'm leaving right now. She hung up quickly and snapped up her transformation rod, snapping it to her belt. Then she grabbed her customized samurai edge and holstered it before swiping it up to her submarine mirror, which it was shown Mirtro's reflection and deeply worried green sea eyes. You all set, Mirtro? I suggest you quickly eat something before you leave. I have a feeling you may not get a chance for a long time. Nodding, she jogged over to the kitchen counter where a half a box of pizza was left open. Along with the unfinished bowl of tomato soup, the box of pizza had been from Brad as an apology for keeping his mouth shut. Jill understood, although she was still a bit pissed at him at the time for leaving him in the manner in the first place, but he made up for it, coming back. Thanks, Brad, she whispered, before grabbing a slice, wolfing it down in a quick few bites. Do you have any research notes? If we escape Raccoon, we'll need to take that umbrella to court. Yeah, I'm going to. Jill nodded as she used her magic to shrink down the notes and place them in her pocket. With them secure, she dashed out of the apartment. Jill, over here! She heard Brad's voice, yelling at her from the top of the alley, leading to the street. She already could tell the city was going to hell. The apartment building was on fire. Several more were as well, and then there were screaming people, running, chaos and destruction everywhere. As she reached Brad, she saw a police car had crashed into the cafe nearby the street that had been blocked off by several sides of abandoned vehicles. Boy, you were lucky. When I got here, everything's gone mad. No shit, where's everyone else? Are they at the station? Jill looked around, her eyes going wide at the carnage around her. Most of the force is out on the streets already. People are already dead, hundreds, maybe thousands. Lots of officers aren't responding. And what's worse, there's something out there, Jill. Something hunting the police. A big bastard in a black overcoat. Right now it's hard on, it's only for the stars left town. You and me, we need to move, Brad warned her as he took out down the street, reeling when the police car sparked it and lit the flame. It's frickin' chaos out there. Look like arcades on steroids. Oh goodness, Jill gasped as she looked in the mirror. When she heard Mirtro mirror her, she knew that she was watching. It was just as horrifying for her. Mirtro! By the ancients, so much destruction, so much death. How could Umbrella let this happen? This is why we need to bring them down, Jill hissed, her eyes briefly flashing sea green for a moment of anger. As she and Brad ran down the street, they passed a fire truck practically blocking the way. The only direction they could go was through Jack's bar, and barriers blocked the way. And oh god, there were so many zombies behind those barriers. See what I mean? The virus has spread faster than we anticipated. I couldn't even begin to gauge how many infected we're dealing with. We need to get to the station and gear up. It's the biggest armory in town, Brad said. I could try and call Rebecca and get her here as well, Jill asked as she followed Brad. I tried her before I called you. I couldn't get through to her. Communications across the city are severed. It was sheer luck that I got through to you, he replied. Let me try something. Finding a safe spot for them in the moment, Jill got out her communicator and watched as she got from Rebecca in the manor, flipping up the star-shaped lid and pressed the Mercury button. Neptune to Mercury, come in. The screen was static for a few moments before Rebecca's face came on. Jill? Brad? Oh, thank God it's you two, the medic sighed in relief. Where are you two? We're at Jack's bar. It's chaos. We need to know where you are. Are you still in the city? Jill asked. No, I'm away. It's a miracle I managed to slip out of the military before they start to lock down the city, Rebecca replied. I'm trying to figure out this virus, but every time I think I have something, it changes somehow. Wait, the military already coordinated the city? Shit, that was freaking quick. But that will trap the survivors inside limits. They're going to have to leave us to die? Bastards, Brad angrily stated. After the deaths started mounting in and the citizens started to panic, they were summoned. Listen, I'll try and figure out whatever stuff I can do for now. In the meantime, just get to the station and barricade yourselves in, Rebecca replied with urgency at the end. Roger that. Jill, let's go. There's a parking garage nearby. We could cut through there for a shortcut for the way to the station. Follow me. No sooner had Brad said that, the doors of the bar began buckling in as zombies slammed against them. Son of a bitch, we don't have time to chat. Move! He pulled out a pistol, a few magazines from his jacket, and tossed them to her. Here, you'll need these. Jill caught the magazines and stuffed them into her hip pouch, and slapped a fresh one into her gun. As a few of them came close, she popped a few rounds into their heads, killing them on top of the spot. Move it, Brad! That's what I'm telling you, he replied, shoving them back at the door and walking into the alley behind the bar. It was blocked off on one end, forcing them back into the street from where they just run from. Rubble and wreckage made sure to pick up their way around the alley. As they reached it, a bright light nearby blinded them as a helicopter flew down. You down there, survivors, get to the parking garage. We'll pick you up. Never thought I'd be so happy to see goddamn newscaster, Brad simultaneously insulted, breathed a sigh of relief. Jill laughed a bit at this, sharing the statement. Right, let's get up there and get out of there. Passing through the alley, they ran into the warehouse, where a fat man tattered in clothes was ambling around. He turned in shock as he saw them approaching. Oh, no. This is my safe house. You can't have it. Get lost. Sir, wait. We're police officers, Jill called out. I don't care. Yeah, you've been doing a banged-up job of protecting the serving. If we're all good as you people claimed, you wouldn't be dying. I just lost my daughter out there. Where are you? Where are you? The man raged, rushing over to his shipping container and climbing inside. Hey, listen, asshole. We're just doing everything we can. You can't expect everyone just to shoot everything that moves. We aren't your typical American cops, Brad retorted. Yeah, sure. You're just a pinnacle of a fucking policing. This place is safe here. Now leave me alone. The man swung the container door shut and refused to say anything else. Okay then. I say leave him in there. We got a chopper to catch. Brad rolled his eyes. Jill sighed and shook her head. Some people just don't want to be saved, no matter how hard you try to convince them. She then glanced down at the mirror to see Murtro having the same look. Idiot. He had a chance, and he just blew it. Nodding, she followed Brad to the car park, where the chopper would be waiting. Once they were out of the city, they could enact their next move against Umbrella, and maybe find some of the other scouts in the meantime. On the way to the garage was blocked, forcing them to crawl through the barriers. The garage was just across the street, and they ran for the elevator, to find their progress impeded by zombies. The elevator itself suddenly opened, and more of them poured out. Damn, we'll have to fight our way through them, Brad groaned. Leave this to me. She didn't want to waste any ammo on the zombies. If there were a bigger threat out there like Brad said, she would need all the ammo she could spare if they were going to face this mysterious STARS Terminator. Getting out her mirror, The glass began to shine bright. Submarine reflection! She hollered a bit of the sea green energy and water that would catch the crowd of zombies, shredding them into nothing but skin and bones. Jesus! Reminded me to not get on your bad side, Brad commented. Then he walked over the elevator with Jill following behind. About 10 seconds later, they were on the rooftop. The news chopper flew overhead and above them. Get in, the pilot said, the co-pilot dropping a rope ladder from the hall. Come on, Brad, we're almost out, Jill urged him, before making a dash for the ladder. Ladies first, he gestured, offering her the ladder. She then climbed up and a ways. He grabbed onto it and followed. Once safely aboard, the co-pilot retracted the ladder and closed the sliding door. The pilot then called back to them. You're stars, right? A bunch of your fellow officers are at the station, planning means of escape. They've been handing out weapons and equipment all day. We'll drop you off there and continue ferrying over survivors to the border. The military is taking them to refugee camps. Apparently they're screening them for the virus. Anyone infected gets shot, but the immune are safe. We take you out of the city yourselves, but there's a bounty on your head, Valentine. Yours, Vickers. What? Both of them yelled in shock. There was a bounty hunter on their heads? Yes. Chief Irons sent out a bellow, claiming that you two have involvement with the disaster. Lucky for you, most of the officers didn't believe that crap. Neither do we. We guys are the heroes in the eyes of the media. Jill smiled a bit at this. At least there were people who believed in them. How could they not, considering what's going on around them? We're nearly at the station. Jesus, the whole city is burning. People should have listened to you guys. They're paying the price for it now. Tell us about it, Jill muttered, as she looked out the window. Dismay in her eyes, she tried to tell them all they did, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. What the hell is that? Brad asked, pointing to something in the streets below them. That's him! That bastard out to get us! That's gotta be Umbrella's bioweapons. He was pointing at the large creature wearing a black trench coat. Is that what you're talking about? That big thing was big as the tyrant we faced back in the manor. Instinctively, her hand had rested on the handle of her stick. The creature looked up at the helicopter. Its face, one of its eyes was sewn shut. Another one was milky white, but it had no nose, like a skull, and no mouth either. Its enormous teeth were exposed. As they looked at them, they heard a low, angry growl. Jill knew, then and there, they were the ones in for hell of a night. With this thing chased him, like Brad warned, she wouldn't think guns would be enough to bring this massive thing down. From the looks of it, the only weak spot she could see was the head. Even that seems to be protected well with black wrapping, leaving only its left eye exposed. Okay, we're here, landing on the roof of the RPD. This is your stop, stars. Good luck, the pilot said, bringing the chopper down and stopping it on the roof. Thanks, Jill nodded, and the two STARS members hopped out. Good luck out there. She then called back to the pilot, and he waved and took off. A missile appeared in the air, flying from somewhere on the ground. Oh shit, Brad said, as the missile flew towards the news chopper. The pilot barely dodged it. Looping the chopper, he made an easy, speedy escape, before another missile came his way. That monster is trying to kill everyone between him and us, Brad added. No, Jill cried, as a second missile made contact with the chopper, blowing it out of the sky. Damn it, not again! She then wiped her gaze back towards the monster and glared in anger. Her teeth gritted and her hands balled into fists. The black-robed monster then turned and walked away, dropping the smoking RPG as it did so. That bastard can use weapons? Brad exclaimed, almost not believing what we said. We need to find a way to kill it as soon before any more lives are taken, Jill hissed before running to the inside, hoping to find more of her fellow officers. More hands equaled more firepower against this endless wave of the undead. The halls were mostly empty, and many of the windows had been boarded up. She heard voices from downstairs, so they went away, and they found survivors camping out in the corridors of the surrounding East office. The officers must be sheltering anyone who came for aid. If there weren't any officers there, they were probably in the conference room around the corner, or the briefing room on the west side of the station. Is that all that's left? Jill asked herself, while allowing Mitro to take in as well as her mirror. Most of the officers are out in the city, said Brad. Many are likely dead already. Jill looked down with a sigh, running a hand through her hair again. Well, shit, she muttered. She walked down the small steps. Now she really wished she had Pluto with her, but for now she was on her own. Valentine, what the hell are you doing here? A voice called out for her from the corridor of the main hall. A tallish black man in uniform was standing there, holding a flashlight as some areas of the station had lost power. The name tags on his shirt read Marvin Brand. Lieutenant, the city has gone to shit. I don't give a fuck of what the chief says. We need to get all the help we can get, Brad said, as Marvin walked over to them. The chief's not here. He hasn't been seen since he left for private residence about a day ago. Apparently put out a bolo for your arrest. He's saying that you two started this whole mess, Marvin questioned. That's bullshit. Irons is trying to shut us up because of what happened. We already know what happened out there, Marvin, Jill snapped. That fat bastard in the pocket of Umbrella. Oh, believe me, I know most of us never believe in that crap he said about stars. You guys were the best of us. What happened in the mansion was bullshit. Unfortunately, this attack caught us off guard. We've lost a lot of men defending this station. It's bad enough that we're periodically having to shoot civilians who show signs of infection, the lieutenant sighed, beckoning them to follow him for the briefing room on the west side. As they passed through the main hall, Jill and Brad saw that it was packed to the brim with civilians camping out. Jill sighed and hugged herself, believing on how many civvies were left. She then shot a look at Brad, who gave a sympathetic one in return. There's probably more out there. It is a big city, but we've lost contact with the board. We're entirely cut off from the outside. No one knows what the hell is going on, and the army isn't about to release these statements. Marvin went on as they walked through the western corridor of the briefing room. Already they can hear voices from within, officers arguing of whatever they should do next. However much ammo and supplies they had left, and even a few advocating seal off the station from the outside. What do you think we should do with the station, Marvin? Jill asked, wondering about his opinion on what they can do. What they do with any of us, really? The police aren't trained for this kind of situation. You stars aren't the only ones with the experience. Most of you disappeared months ago, when Van Irons declared the rest of you are terrorists, he answered, pushing open the doors. There was a hush. Everyone there laid their eyes on Jill. Hey, show him some respect. You're staring at the only person with the experience to save your asses. Brad shot at them, infuriated by their reactions. Seams Chickenheart Vickers had grown a spine. Jill shot him a smile before returning to the group. All right, everyone, I want you to listen and listen well, because I'm only saying this once. Those things that are out there can be bested by flames or acid or well-aimed shot to the head. Don't be afraid to even use grenades to turn them to mush. She then walked over to the map of the station and looked over what key points we have that are barricaded so far. Most of the windows in the corridor behind us are boarded. Some of us in the east, well, not all of them. The passage to the underground parking garage is exposed, so we shut off the power to the door, so no one can go that way now. Unfortunately, the guy who turned off the power got killed before he escaped. The cell block in the parking is completely cut off now, except for the chief's private elevator. But his office is locked and the elevator power is off and we can't find the keys. The officers who had the keys are all missing, and we all got is a spade key. Without the other keys, a lock to the station is cut off to us, David stated, reading a new report he had written earlier. Let me guess. Irons booked out of the city after the shit began to hit the fan, right? Jill asked with disdain. He's probably hiding out in his private home, fat bastard, another officer grumbled. We're not going to hear anything from him. We're on our own here. With Irons missing, technically, stars are the ranking officers here. So that means everyone who defers Valentine's command. If she's not around, you answer to me, Marvin interjected. Jill nodded and turned to Brad. How do you want to play this? What we do is sacrifice the station and what we need to put under a lock and key? We've done that and we can already. We need access to the garage so we can use the vehicles and hammer to hammer through the path streets. Someone who needs to find a way down to the underground and get inside. Now Elliot had a plan to get in. Apparently the station and his own power substation between us. There is an elevator that grants access, but we don't know where it is. It doesn't show up on the station maps. David said. What of Elliot? Has anyone ever heard from him? Jill asked next. Last he reported he was in the East Wing, Marvin nodded. We've got at least one key that access to the West Office and the library and the East Passage to the Chief's office. We need to get there to the rest, David concluded. Oh, and have you got your STARS badge? We need to access the STARS armory. Someone lost the key card for the actual armory. Not a problem, I can help with that, Jill nodded as she showed her said badge. Trying to fish out her badge, her rod snapped off and fell to the floor with a clatter. Shit! A couple of officers looked surprised, but most of them didn't bat an eyelash. So the rumors are true. You are a sailor soldier, David stated the obvious. No wonder Irons wanted you out of the picture. That proves you were telling the truth about him being a mole for Umbrella. Jill blinked in surprise as she picked up her rod. They knew? Well, there was no hiding it now. She smiled and Murtro smiled back at her. I guess the proper introduction is in order, eh, partner? Don't waste my energy if you aren't going to fight. We can only maintain for so long, you know? I know, but something tells me we need to suit up, or rather sooner than later. With that hulking monster looking around on the streets, chances are he's going to be coming here. Jill turned to how serious as he looked out the window. He could almost sense that ominous presence in the distance. And it's guttural call and sent shivers down his spine when she first heard it. Well, let's get going. We need the weapons into the STARS armory, and we've only got the keys since Barry's gone, David says, beckoning some officers to follow him upstairs, also beckoning to Jill. Go on, Jill. I'll stay here and help coordinate these guys and putting up defenses. Brad nodded to her. Jill nodded back and followed David out, walking with him towards the STARS office upstairs. On the way, she turned to him. How did you know about the sailor soldiers? I thought that story was rarely heard, from what I heard myself. Someone spread rumors throughout the city of what the soldiers were making in return, and we could only rally behind them if we wanted to survive the oncoming storm. I don't know who it was, but it was really this tall woman with shining battlesuit, what looked like it belonged to royalty. Then the woman herself looked straight out of the Middle Ages, he replied, pausing when they got to the stairs, as zombies outside slammed against the windows cracked it, making them all jump. Mason, get some boards and nail this frickin' thing! Don't let them in! He barked an order. On it! Mason quickly grabbed some boards and slammed them home one by one. Quickly he nailed them over the cracking window. Got it! For an additional measure, Jill jogged over and slapped a hand on the boards. Muttering in a small indication, the seal Neptune shined over them for a moment before vanishing. A little extra security for good measure. Thank God Captain Wesker showed me how to do this seal spell. Christ, shit, this is like a reason out of most of us haven't slept for days, David muttered to himself, gripping the shotgun a little uncomfortably. They went upstairs towards the STARS office, moving some of the stuff that they had used to barricade the gate. The windows and corridors outside of the window office weren't boarded, but they didn't need to be as the zombies couldn't climb the walls. Out of the windows was broken, however. The rain had pooled outside the door, making the floor wet and slippery. Watch your step! Allow me. Jill touched her hand to the water and slowly raised it, molding it into a spear as she began to purify with a little spark of magic. Who needs to refill their canteens? A few of the officers grunted as they held out their bottles and canteens, which she felt. Fresh water is going to be getting hard to get a hold of. We've got to resort using the sinks and the toilets and showers, David explained as he opened the door to the office. For Jill, it was like walking back into her home. Everything as if they never left. Chris had even left his jacket and his guitar. His sister wouldn't be happy about that either. Jill used her badge to get the armory open before glancing around sadly. Just a few moments ago, they were joking around and shooting a banter back and forth. Hell, the atmosphere on that day got back from the Redfield vault that was electric, and now they had learned magic was real. She could see herself sitting on the desk, gushing about the fact that such a thing existed, and that she could do much more to help people with her newfound magic water. She could see this fond smile on Chris's face, watching his girlfriend and partner was going off like a schoolgirl who discovered a new anime to watch. And now it was gone, washed away in that single night. Tears came to Jill's eyes as she hung her head and hugged herself once more. She was so lost in her memories that she hadn't noticed the officers handing out weaponry and passing it off as a distribute that still wanting to fight. She didn't hear David calling to her as she tried to get her attention until he took her arm and shook her. "Hey, Valentine! Earth to Valentine!" He gently shaking her out of her trance. Oh, sorry, David, Jill shook her head, trying to hide her oncoming tears. "Did you guys get the weapons?" She looked around to see the officers giving her sympathetic looks. "Guys, we know what you're thinking. A few months ago, everything was normal. It was just another day at the RPD. When then the shit then happened in the mansion, and everything went to hell. We're all feeling it, Valentine. More people should have listened to you guys. If they had, then maybe we could have been prepared for this," David sympathized, putting a hand on her shoulder. "You want to stay here for a bit? We can finish this off ourselves. I imagine you've still got some of the memories you want to keep." Jill didn't trust herself with the answer, feeling her throat close up, but she just nodded, biting her lower lip as she fought back the urge to cry. The other officers walked over and enclosed her in a group embrace. "Thank you," she managed to whisper. David beckoned to the others as they left quietly, taking the equipment with them and leaving Jill to be alone for a bit. When the door closed, Jill felt herself going to an emotional dam break. She fell to her knees and hugging herself as sobs escaped her. Oh, how it hurt. It felt like someone had taken her heart, ripped it out and stomped it underneath their heel. Out of 13 people, most of all Bravo were wiped out, save for Enrico, Richard, and Rebecca, and they had lost Joseph, their comrades, their friends, gone. And it was Umbrella's fault. Jill felt a heart-wrenching scream of sorrow being pulled from the depths of her soul, and she let it out, no holding back. However, her response was her raging emotions, and the pipes within her walls began to creak and clatter, threatening to burst. This was their fault. This was their fault. She almost let go of her anger, but she just felt like reaching her breaking point. The comm system over Rebecca's desk went off as someone attempted to call the police. "Is anyone receiving this? Our platoon is cut off. We need reinforcements. This is Carlos Oliveira. Somebody, anybody respond. These bastards have run over our position, and we're being decimated." Slowly pulling herself out of the depths of sadness, Jill stumbled over the comm system and pushed the button to speak. "This is STARS member Jill Valentine. I read you. I need you. Come to the RPD. It's a safe haven. Hurry." "I can't hear you. Your connection's weak. We're cut off from the police station. We're trying to head for a train station to get a permitter. We have civilians with us. I repeat, we have civilians with us. We're downtown." "Damn it. The comms to the equipment must be damaged." This Carlos guy wasn't getting everything what she said. The train station isn't that far from here. I could hear myself and meet up with them." Taking a few moments to refocus and calm down, she dried her tear-stained face and collected her emotions, regaining back in. There would be a time to mourn later. Right now she had a job to do. She had to go find Carlos and help him get over the RPD. "Murcher, are you ready to do this?" "I don't know who this guy is. He mentioned something about his platoon. Is he part of the army? What are they doing in the city? Aren't they at the perimeter preventing the virus from spreading? Why would they be here? I don't like where this is heading." Regardless of Murcher's personal feelings of the situation, Jill was still the police officer, and her sense of duty refused her to ignore Carlos' pleas for help. She had to go to the train station and try to help him. Perhaps she could find out who he really was when she got there.